Shift Happens podcast.
Welcome to the Shift Happens podcast, where we explore the latest trends and technologies transforming the future of work. In this episode, we sit down with Scott Brant, who will share his personal journey of transforming himself into a thought leader and educator in the tech industry. We'll discuss how he used social media platforms like TikTok and YouTube to grow his personal brand and drive the growth of his company's business. We'll also dive into the ROI of social media, the power of personal branding, and the importance of building trust with your audience. Let's get started. To kick off the podcast, we have a special segment, and this is always near and dear to me because I love music. It's called the Soundtrack of Shift. And the idea is, as we navigate through this ever-changing landscape of transformation, especially in technology, we know that music has a remarkable way of capturing the essence of all these changes and growth and evolution. So what song that encapsulates your journey, especially at this juncture of your career? It could be around technology transformation, business transformation, workplace evolution, or just your personal growth.
Yeah, absolutely. So very much, I think you look at it through different lenses, especially for music and different themes. And for me, I very much saw a movie a good few years ago, which the soundtrack was for The Great Gatsby, Lana Del Rey. Young and Beautiful was the soundtrack. Now, the song itself is very, I suppose it has an element of love in there, but really where that kind of song leads is into that movie as well, which to me is all around change and transformation. Very much if we see the central character there being Gatsby of that movie, and, growing up as kind of this penniless individual and looking to the stars to want more for his own personal growth, and then goes on a journey where he completely changes himself to live the life that he really wants to move towards. But ultimately realizing that transformation can also lead to flaws as well. And the flaw of Gatsby was that effectively he was really wanted to change the past. So he looked to the future to change the past. And that realization never came in that character's journey of that he wasn't able to change the past. He truly believed he could by decisions of the future and where he was going. But it was always held back by that negative perception of don't have wealth, don't have social status. And therefore he was trying to change that by looking to the future. And I think that's kind of story of personal growth and transformation, and the realization of that you don't necessarily have to, I suppose in that sense, be held back by decisions of the past. And by looking to the future, you should really believe in something different, but never be held back by your past beliefs.
That's awesome. I recall and think about that movie, the lead character, right? Leonardo DiCaprio, he plays Jay Gatsby. And it's this innate desire to prove himself, to show that he's made it, but at the same time, at the expense of, what's the right word here? At the expense of really disrupting other people's relationship, right? With Daisy, he has this... He's just set on her. And going back to the song, the more I think about the song, although Lana Del Rey, a female singing it, a female's point of view, but I think the song's more of Jay Gatsby's sentiment. It's like, I've seen the world, I've done it all, I've had my cake now, I have everything. But once this is all gone, will you still love me? Will you still love me when I have nothing, or when I'm no longer young and beautiful, right?
Absolutely. You look at that transformation of that character on that journey, and that transformation of, effectively the end of the story. Of course, he doesn't have a great ending. Those people may have not seen the movie, right? And very much then that he's left with nothing, but the people that were around him went back to the way they were. And so it's very much like that journey of transformation and the cost of that transformation, but then being held back by trying to change the past, I think is really important. I think, as you mentioned, for personal transformation and personal journey, I think very much all of us as individuals, can be held back by a comment or a belief that's not true. But then, of course, it can prevent us moving forward because we're held back by that where we was in the past and not able to see a different future from it, really.
Well, speaking of personal transformation and journey, let's start there, right? So clearly, you're not held back by your past. And let's begin there. So can you walk us through your personal journey of really transforming yourself to be out there as a thought leader, as an educator, as somebody who started with not engaging online, and now you have over 45,000 subscribers on YouTube and 250,000 plus monthly video views. So can you walk us through that transformation?
Yeah, absolutely, Doug. So, if we look at kind of where we are today, I was checking the stats out earlier for you to share that, and we actually started on YouTube less than 1 year ago. I think it's 302 days we've been going. We actually got nearly 18,000 subscribers on YouTube, but we have over 20,000 on TikTok. So we have like these two platforms. We have our other social platforms on LinkedIn and Instagram as well. We have several thousand on each. But I look at it in a YouTube sense. The growth we've seen in the last 302 days has been nearly 1.8 million video views. All of those subscribers, we have 108,000 hours of playtime. This is all like less than a 1 year kind of time frame that we've seen on the YouTube platform. And we've seen some good growth on TikTok pre that. It's interesting you asked that question of, where was that kind of transformation? What does that journey look like? And really what I'd share with people that are listening as well is, I went to a session, Dux, that you were hosting pre-COVID, right? And it was in London at a Microsoft event. And you were running a session on the power of personal brand. And you were sharing socials, putting out LinkedIn videos where you would dine with a certain guest and you talk through topics. And I was one of those viewers. And I was one of those people in the audience listening in to your kind of lessons of, share who you are, share your journey. People want to listen to your message. But I was sitting in that audience and I wanted to do it, but I couldn't do it. I left your session. I thought I'd love to do that one day, but for some reason, something was holding me back. And so I went back to my normal job, do what I do all the time. And I still watched your content. I still say, hey, I want to do that one day. I want to put some social content. I want to put something out that's going to help the world and share more about what we do. But what was the problem of, why I didn't want to do it, and it took years. Like I went through the COVID pandemic. There was no social media that was released whatsoever from me. Again, I wanted to, but didn't achieve that. Really, then I think if you look at it probably around 18 months, 2 years ago, was very much that kind of feeling of, well, let's start small, right? Because in some ways, you've got to get past that hurdle, as we mentioned in that transformation song of, don't get held back by a past belief or be held back by that kind of feeling of, I'm not good enough, or I'm not going to do a very good job.
So let's pause there, right? So I want to go back to the point you made. So you attended that session. Thank you. And I'm glad people actually listen. But what held you back? Is there any specific experience or idea or misconception like, I'd love to do this, but I can't. I don't have time or I don't have the resources. What was that? If you can pinpoint to what that one thing that held you back, what would that be?
I would say it was certainly this kind of feeling of that maybe my message or my voice was probably not worth sharing. There are already these instrumental people in the world that point out this social media content every week. How or why would anyone want to know what I was going to share? Where's the value that I could add in this world of these voices? And we very much, including me, are also blindsided by these big followers, these big multi-million people, influencers. And in that sense, we look at them and go, wow, that would be awesome to achieve. It's not going to be possible, right? So I think what I'll do is I'll put it off another week and I'll find something else to go and do. I think it's that belief of that you can share something with the world that's helpful, will empower people, but that other side of your own voice that goes, I don't think this is going to help anyone. I don't think I'm good enough to do that, can immediately put you off in the world of social media.
Got it. All right. So once you got past that and you talked about, time went by, COVID happened, what sparked that idea to think maybe let me try this?
Yeah, so TikTok was the spark. We were still pretty late to the TikTok party. We weren't one of the early adopters, as I would call it out there. But TikTok showed that what you didn't need to do was a high glossy video of 20-minute tutorials. TikTok was all around a 1 minute short. These were the days where TikTok only allowed a 60-second short video. So for me, I looked at it and thought, hey, I've got a mobile phone, right? I could share my screen and I could do a bit of editing on there and I could do something. And my early videos on TikTok were me holding an iPhone, literally holding it with my hand and talking about stuff and putting it out there to the world and posting it. But that fear again of what if someone I know watches this video? It's going to be so bad that I feel, not in a way embarrassed, but I feel like, hey, this doesn't feel like the multi-million people, subscribers, influencers videos, but it's something that helps, right? And I put this video out. And of course, what I would say to anyone who's starting this journey is don't expect thousands of hits the first time round. It will not happen. But what I noticed was positivity, people liking it, people engaging with the content. So I started to share a little bit more on how to do something in Microsoft technology, in Teams or in SharePoint, answering the questions that people had that they were struggling with in their day-to-day role and they need answers to. So point out these little small, short videos, a little bit of a background music, and they weren't, I say, very high glossy production, but there was something in that I immediately clung on to. And it wasn't like this idea of, let's go and buy a Lamborghini, because that is not what happens in social media, right? That's like, Scott is not going out in his yacht around France right now. But very much it's more around that kind of thought process of this content is helping people that I will never meet, which is great. I'll never meet these people, but they get a message across there saying, thank you, Scott, that's really helped me on my day. That means more than anything else, and why I thought, you know what? Let's do more of this and let's carry on and do better content on TikTok and evolve the journey. And then I transitioned over to YouTube because the confidence had grown in that sector.
Were you surprised there's an audience? Because even when I first heard of TikTok, almost always I think about TikTok as more of the consumer. I wasn't thinking that there's going to be an audience, especially in our industry. Were you surprised at all?
Yeah, so I suppose I was. There were already examples in TikTok though of people like Miss Excel and others that were really market kind of leaders in TikTok and showing the Excel videos and the like were really powerful. So really for me it was saying, well, there is actually a need in these sectors to share things, and I think the world is evolving as well. One of the big things I've kind of realized in my journey is sometimes 60 seconds is enough to share a message on how to do something in a piece of technology. Someone may not want to watch a 1 hour long video. We go in very, very, long detail about how to achieve something. But if I could say, hey, you know what you could do today? You could do this and save this time. Excellent. You'll take that, you'll apply the learning in your day job and you'll get value from it in just 60 seconds. And I think that is where the power of that audience came from, to kind of have these individuals. And by what I mean as individuals is, very much, I probably would guess if people also listen to this podcast, is we serve customers every day in this field. And customers have problems, right? They have problems using systems. They may not have budget to go on a very high paid training course. But by sharing that little tip with them, that's going to positively impact their day and make them more productive. And that's why I think that audience is there. They want to learn, and it's a free platform. They can learn things very quickly on as well.
So from TikTok, it encouraged you, gave you more confidence. What made you invest and expand, I would say, your repertoire to YouTube?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, and this comes to evolution, I guess, of, someone going on that journey of saying, well, I'm doing 60 seconds videos and I'm running out of time. And I'm trying to push too much stuff into 60 seconds here. What am I going to do? And then also looking again at YouTube And I would say for anyone who goes through transformation and change, I had the same fear. I'd built like 20,000 followers up on TikTok at this point. So I thought, well, I've got a good message to share. On YouTube, I had no followers. I had no subscribers. So this was less than a year ago going, I'd love to go into YouTube content now, build out tutorials. And so very much we approached it in the same way. Went onto YouTube, screen share, but I invested then in more technology, invested in a better camera. I invested in screen sharing, in better technology, a better mic to improve how we could deliver that message to our audience. Because we know that YouTube is a different setup, it's a different audience, they have different needs to what we saw in the world of TikTok. So for me, it was very much like we can share more with our audience here. And not forgetting, I think there's 2.5 billion users on on YouTube today, 2.5 billion people. And so, very much you could say that everyone's market is on YouTube, whether that's a certain target audience, etc., that you want to speak to, they are going to be on YouTube. And so from my side, I thought it's a great opportunity again to share the message, provide tips and opportunities to learn, and to do that through that channel. And I think connect with the audience because you can spend more time with them than what I could do in 60 seconds. And I would generally say that, this is a danger of social media that we're in now. We have become a society of what I would say just swipe. Let's swipe videos. A 2 second. We would see on TikTok that someone might engage with our video of around 3 seconds and swipe. That first 3 seconds telling someone while you are there on the mobile screen is really important. But actually the flip side I found in YouTube was that audience was more than happy staying around for 10 minutes because they were going to go on a journey with you. They were there to learn about a topic. They found you through search or other means. The TikTok audience was different in that it'd be very quick in terms of servicing their needs. So more time meant better outcomes really for what I would say the audience was looking for.
So you mentioned TikTok at the point where you grew up to 20,000 followers. How long did that take? And then what's the frequency of your posting, just to get into the details for our listeners who may want to start this journey?
Sure. So it probably took me still around, I'd probably say 9 months to a year to build that up on TikTok. And I think posting in terms of it, absolutely, whether it comes to TikTok, YouTube, LinkedIn, or any other platform, consistency is key. Absolutely. And that is what it also comes down to, of having that personal belief in transformation and being committed to a journey is really important because, I've seen the stats and I've been on the other end of it where we can see that if we did not engage with a platform for a number of weeks, i.e. we're not posting new video content, we become irrelevant very, very quickly. You're not able to attract the audience you once was able to do. So for us on TikTok, we were posting once to twice a week, as short of 60 seconds to build out that effectively momentum. We hear stories from others that post 5 times a week, depending on where your niche and sectors you want to share, that they post a lot more and they also get good results. But then, of course, on YouTube, we also now do it once a week because we want to be consistent weekly. And we also now introduce both the idea of long form content being a YouTube tutorial mixed in with a TikTok short or a YouTube short within the week. So a long form and short form once a week on the YouTube and a short on the TikTok platform.
And then from a time investment, soup to nuts, let's just say one post, right? On the average, what's a time investment on that?
Yeah. So what I would also probably, really outline, I think it's a really positive thing is where people can become stuck is drafting content, right? That is where if I said to someone who was quite new to this journey, can you post a short or a YouTube video? They would probably say, well, I have no idea what it's about, right? So is there a shortcut firstly to that? And there is, because if you are dealing with a particular person, niche, sector, technology, you're already going to know the topics that people want to know about. Right? You know the problems, right? You know them. And so if you know the problem, you know the solution. So you know what a great video topic could be about. How you can do this in this technology and the outcome is this, because you know that. So I'll just mention that drafting content should come naturally, really focus on the problem and what the solution is, it really from customers that you're working with. The flip side of it, well, how long does it take? Well, for me, and again, this is put in the frame of Nothing stops you on TikTok, Instagram, YouTube Shorts, picking up a mobile phone and doing a segment. And that might take you from point to point around an hour to 2 hours to pull out about a 1 minute video. Bit of editing in there, etc. YouTube videos, of course, do require a little bit more engagement. They will typically take me about a minimum 4 hours to a day in terms of building out a good tutorial, because on our more recent videos do transitions and we do screen shares and I appear above it. So the production values are increased versus what we do on shorts, which is much more snappier and it's easier to record. So it's certainly not a time frame problem in terms of creating that content. You just need to you have that time in the diary to get that work done.
Now, let's talk about ROI, right? So I'm sure there's a lot of different levels of ROI here. So first, let's talk about the ROI from the videos itself, because we know there's monetization schemes that TikTok offers and YouTube offers. Not to share all the numbers, but when did you start seeing ROI, like you're making money off these videos?
Yeah, so very much, I think, from a TikTok side, there is different incentives. So if you're looking at it in one way, and if someone wants to start a TikTok journey, you absolutely can, and you can get monetized. They now have effectively like an incentive program that you can sign up for, but the rewards are minimal versus a platform like YouTube, mainly driven by advertising revenues, probably lower on the TikTok platform. High ranking videos, high performing videos can earn tens of thousands of dollars. Sadly, ours don't go into that category because really they're like videos in the millions of hits, but you can earn that type of revenue on TikTok. That is feasible for people to achieve. Sadly, we haven't yet, but it's not to say that we still don't want to do videos. We do, but it's about being realistic about what you're going to achieve. YouTube, on the other hand, does pay better than other channels. And they have a minimum threshold of 1,500 subscribers and 3,000 hours of playtime, or 3,500 hours it may well be, before you can become monetized on that platform. Now, again, if you were to look at the numbers, etc., and I would say that we don't earn a huge amount of money, we earn very little really from the YouTube channel, because that really monetization, I would say, sometimes comes on a niche or sector that you're involved in. Finance pays really well. All of those kind of maybe advertisers with more ad spend that want to put ads on your video. Well, finance, other sectors can pay better when it comes to ad revenue versus some of the stuff that we effectively do in the 365 and technology space as well. That doesn't mean, again, that is where it ends, because if we just look at it from, well, Scott, this is what you get from your social media platforms in terms of return, you probably would say it's not worth the effort. You probably say, hey, you'd be better off spending time doing something else. And you would say, yeah. But the flip side of that is we have to look at another side of this transformation. And I think this is anything, whether you're an MSP, you're a business, you need to consider. It's actually about taking your product or service to people to build likability, knowledge, and the trust that they effectively would want to come back to you to say, hey, Scott, can you help me on this journey? My problem I've got. That is not expressed in YouTube, TikTok, and other platforms as financial terms, right? So one thing we use on our platforms is we use websites behind it. We use free incentives like ebooks to bring in someone's details to connect with them. But ultimately, for our content, we actually ask the viewer if they're struggling to get in contact, and we'll help them out. So from that, actually, the biggest win I've seen is actually what I would say is turning the head on the model. For businesses and MSPs and anyone else listening in, that we were spending money on Google Ads and we would get some interest, but the keywords we were attracting were very costly. We couldn't make a dent against any of those. And increasingly, the feedback we always got was, you can fix this by spending more. You spend more, you'll get more leads. But there is a natural conclusion when you say, but the value is not being returned. And so the other side of this fence is if we look at our YouTube content, which is just, again, turning it on its head. If I type in one of the phrases for our videos, some of our high-hitting videos that we've had on the channel, we will appear just beneath the adverts at the top, right in front of someone with the video with our brand, clicking on it and play the video. most of our videos come from people on Google, not on YouTube. So actually, in sense of that, we're actually doing them through the platform. We are being paid, okay, not huge amounts from Google, but we're being paid by Google to advertise on Google and to find clients on Google. So in that sense, it turns it on its head.
I love this part of how you broke down the ROI. Because shameless plug, right? In that session that I presented on personal branding, and by the way, I have a course on LinkedIn, how to build your personal brand. One of the first things I've learned in my journey is people want to buy, but they don't want to be sold to, right? Because I would compare what you just described. Like if you see Google ads, buy my service, buy my product, Google ads, that's being sold to. It's like walking into a car dealership and used car salesperson selling you, buy the car, buy the car, buy the car. But the flip side, what you describe is where I look for, or who I look for, and who I want to learn from are people that are knowledgeable. And I want to buy from them. That's why back in the days, I would buy these O'Reilly Media books. I would check out who the authors are. And then when I go to conferences, I would attend their presentations. Because to me, in my mind, they're the ones knowledgeable. And it's the same case as what you're doing. You share a lot of these great content around Microsoft 365 or cloud-related technologies, how to do this, what's the shortcut, and people gravitate towards it. And I'm pretty sure your ROI, yeah, you get a couple $10,000, couple $1,000 from the video itself, but it's people ping you, not even questioning, can Scott do the job? I mean, I've seen Scott's video. I know he knows the stuff. Let me call Scott and see how he can help me. And I'm sure that's a big driver to your business.
Oh, 100%. Like that's changed our business. And one of the big things and why advertising on platforms or, going to other events and networking is great. But they generally always come back to one point, price. Yeah, we found that a lot. Businesses, MSPs are considered on price. What happens if I could buy your service from another Microsoft partner 4 miles away or 4 kilometers, and it's half the price of your service? What makes you different to the other service I've got on the table when in this market, we're very much focused on how much we spend? So in that sense, we are trying to compete against others in the same market with the same product, with the same messaging, with the same website, with the same copy. And we then wonder why we can't seem to get many leads in the door. And I was there before the social media. That's where I was looking at thinking, why isn't this working? This should just work. Like this works for everybody else. Why isn't it working for me? And it's that kind of realization of going, absolutely, that the social turns on its head because, equally what we want to do is we want to show people that we know what we're talking about, that we know the products really well, and that we also want to help people on the journey that may not want to buy from us and they're just struggling in their problem. As much as, and this sounds, cheesy in a way, but a lead is as good good for me as it is as someone saying thank you. This has helped them on their journey, on their day, and save their time. Is as equally as powerful as both of those is really good outcomes. But I do feel that having the ability to share your knowledge and become this professional in their eyes means that person won't look 4 kilometers or 4 miles away down the road to find the person. They simply say, hey, I know you know your stuff. I already know that. You already beam to my mobile phone in my living room every day and you tell me about things. And therefore, you are the right person to help me on my journey.
The biggest difference is you've established trust. And trust is the currency that takes time, that takes authenticity from your intent, right? Because people can see past you. You can do this consistently and all that, but if you're being fake about it, then people can see that, right? But clearly, I've seen a lot of your work, your videos. Sure, it's going to help you grow your business, but at the same time, you sincerely want to share the knowledge as well. So you've gained people's trust, and that, especially today, it's so hard to come by.
There is. There's a lot of videos and content out, and take this as a positive that, we've all been there. You've clicked on a video with a promise. And one of the things that I really believe in is that we should deliver on the promise. If I say on the video title, how to do this, how to do this in Outlook, or how to do this in SharePoint, we want to deliver on the promise that you've invested in me in the video by saying, I'm going to click on this video. We're all limited in time. So if that person wants to spend 5 minutes with me on a video and I can help share something to help their day, well, it's awesome that they chose us to go and spend that time with. But it's also being aware that other people and maybe other companies that have that kind of brand of how to do this, but then you click into it and then you feel, well, I didn't get the outcome I wanted there. I was just sold to. Well, straight away, your perception of that person, that brand, that channel is, I won't go to that again because I know that wasn't really for me. And so one of the big things is we need to acknowledge that if we are going to create content in this, we do need to, and this is a big step change for people, and it was for me as well. We need to be able to deliver value as part of that. We need to give away value for free. A lot of people will go, hey, what are you talking about, Scott? Giving away value for free, right? We're a business, we don't do that. But we do need to give away that for free without any expectation on return to ultimately have the ability to get a return. I mean, that's a big part of it as well. You never get to one of my videos where I say, well, it was a great video, guys, but in part 2, which costs $19, I'm going to do this with you. We still always get to the end and deliver on what we expected to begin with.
That's right. I think that's, to your point, that's a big mindset shift for a lot of people and for a lot of organizations, right? Because especially coming from, if you're an MSP, small organization, you want to see the immediate results. Like, I'm going to spend a day doing this. What's my ROI? Can I book a deal this quarter? But sometimes you have to think about this in a more broader and longer horizon. I remember when social media first came out, I jumped on, I became active. People asked me, so, what's the ROI social media? Because if we put Google ads, we can see the ROI or not. Then my answer is, what's the ROI of your mom, right? It's like you can't quantify it like that. But I think we're at a stage now where people are seeing it, organizations are realizing that at the end of the day, people buy from people. That's why even large companies, it's not a coincidence why they regularly put Satya Nadella out there, why Zuckerberg's still out there, or Tim Cook, because they don't have to do it, but they know, like, in this big engine of Microsoft, big company of Meta or Apple, you still need a face, and you need to build trust in the end, right?
You need to build trust. We buy into people, right? We buy into people, we buy into the journey of somebody. And, and I think this comes into that kind of question of, well, what does the future look like as well, right? AI and video production technologies. And, I know of some solutions today that I could go and buy an AI to front a video and have it effectively do the voiceover. And so Scott could be transformed into someone else entirely, right? I could become an AI person. Some people have actually commented on my video and said, well, are you an AI? No, I'd say I'm definitely real because my hair grows, right? So I'd say my hair will grow in the next video. So I'm certainly not a machine. But, it's funny, that kind of thought process. And I think this is something that I've kind of, reflected on in my journey over the last year. And I think, there's this kind of question of, well, if this is all great, but hey, Scott, I could go and buy an AI tool that just pretends they're me, or they can be the front of my company. I'd say, hey, nice idea. But the problem with that is people will know it's not true. It won't take long before that AI personality pops up on another video and they go, hang on, I thought this person was working for the other entity. You've lost trust all of a sudden. And now when you upload videos, a new actual chatbots came out on the YouTube platform like 2 weeks ago that says this content has been produced or has been changed by AI. And you have to acknowledge that. Yes or no answer, because they want to tell people where AI has been involved in the manipulation of that video to again inform the viewer of saying this could be manipulated. So I think if you look at the kind of the viewpoint as well of that is still the power of the person. If they meet me at a conference and event, I exist. Maybe the advice on something I give is great, but maybe I want to go a step further. Well, I'm still here. I'm here to help on that journey. But an AI, a video representation of me, is not necessarily going to be that person that you're going to have that relationship with.
That's amazing. So So this has been what, a little over a year, and you've seen this massive growth and transformation, not only for yourself, for your business. Other than financial benefits, any other gains you've gotten? I know you recently became a Microsoft MVP. Was that as a result of all this work?
It was indeed, yeah. So kind of kudos goes to another MVP, Darryl Webster, who nominated me for that. Because, what I would say is effectively one of the opportunities we got as part of our kind of social media content was more engagement with Microsoft and some of their products as well. So being brought into the loop with some of the stuff they were doing by the videos we were creating. And that was more in a relationship to say, hey, Scott, there's some real good stuff we're doing here. You might want to know about it. You could share your channel over time, right? So it helps us take that messaging really back about what's new, what's upcoming. Now, really that opportunity and the opportunity of being MVP came from the video production because, I very much, again, thinking right back probably over 10 years ago, I knew of the MVP community. I was a technical professional. I looked at these MVPs, and you're one of those ducks that, I'd read your books in the past, and you're like, hey, I'd love to be an MVP, but I don't know how I'm ever going to achieve that because I don't really go to events. How do I do it? Do I create a blog? Do I do loads of blog posts? And the realization as well is, on our journey on social was I was doing the video production and I was putting out stuff. I was getting a lot of followers. But there wasn't an MVP award at the end of the rainbow as it was. There was still no award. And I was like, hey, what is going on, right? Because surely you just get an MVP like automatically for this. Someone just mails you in the post and it's finished, right? That was not what happened because actually the realization was just like any other transformation and journey it took is, being part of that program and then working with Darryl. I was speaking to him about it. He was another Microsoft MVP. It's like, hey, I'll nominate you because all the great stuff you're doing in the community, you do deserve the recognition of that. And that realization was that there isn't this kind of like people in the community that kind of say, hey, Scott, you'd be an awesome MVP, off you go. Microsoft, they're not sitting there looking at people's YouTube videos to make you an MVP. It took someone else in the community to acknowledge that and bring me on that journey. But ultimately, it also came from really engaging with the community as well, be able to get that opportunity. So for me, when I got it, and I got it in the mail about a few weeks ago, I opened it up out of the package, this nice like glass trophy. It was like, great, 10 years I wanted this. It was 10 years ago I aimed for this award and now we're able to achieve it. And for me, it was just another kind of achievement on this journey to go, the journey is worth it because you get these opportunities that otherwise you wouldn't have had before.
And you raise a very important point, right? While we talk a lot about how you start in social, TikTok, YouTube, but it's not just social media platform. It's beyond that. At the end of the day, it's about, again, building trust, engaging with people, because like Scott mentioned, it's his engagement with, while it's still online, with Darryl out in New Zealand, but through that, help him got connected with Microsoft. And I would think from a business perspective, now you have somewhat of an in with Microsoft as a Microsoft MVP, you know what's coming, and then you can feed that back to your customer. All right, here's the roadmap. You can share what you can share, and things you cannot share, you won't share. But now you're a more elevated thought leader in MSP compared to other competitors out there, right?
Absolutely. And I think that that's just another kind of opportunity to learn more and share more, really, back with the audience. And I'm able to do that with lots of Copilot and put videos out in Copilot and share it working in like test environments I've got access to from the MVP award. So, if we look at it, it's kind of like an upgrade in a way where I can share more with the community and take them on that journey and still be really fully independent and not be, paid or associated in that way. To be able to say, well, Scott's message in his own right. And we always want to do that. Our channel is independent very much. And that's something that we do have. But very much then it's about that we can do more and share more with our community. And what I would say is, for some people listening going, hey, if I was an MVP, it would change the world. And I'm sure I'd get a million inquiries in the door. I'd say that's not the case because an MVP, I would say, give it a test. Speak to someone who's not in our industry and say, I was made an MVP. I've done that. And you get the funny look back of what's an MVP and what does that mean? And then so actually when you put that big thing on your website, I have an MVP, we can't really expect people to go, oh, yeah, well, I'll definitely call in this person because he's an MVP. It's highly unlikely, right? So it's one of those things to bear in mind that it's not something you should hold back from just because you're not an MVP as well.
Amen to that. When I first became MVP, I'm like, oh, I'll be set for life. Well, nobody knows what MVP is other than MVPs, right? But at the same time, to me, the value is you get all these new knowledge that you can share and benefit for your customers.
Shift Happens Podcast. Shift Happens Podcast.
Scott, this has been a fantastic conversation. I can keep going here, but we got to wrap up. But as we wrap up, what are some of the 2-3 advice you have for individuals like yourself or even MSP or businesses out there that want to maximize a personal brand to help drive the growth of their business?
Yeah, absolutely. So interesting, really. I think that the journey over my kind of couple of years in doing this, I'd probably say the first is that don't get held back by the past beliefs that you have or that negativity inside that goes, your message isn't valuable. You know, that's what I started off writing this conversation with that kind of soundtrack, and considering the story of Gatsby and that he was ultimately held back by trying to change the past. You know, if you have that in you that go, I'd love to share my message, do it. You know, I'm sure there are people out there that want to hear about it and want to know how you're going to help change the world as part of your message as well. That's really important because ultimately that is what we're doing as part of this. We're helping change the world, give people new skills. I think the other side of it is really considering as well the kind of, especially from a business side, is that it is a different way to take your business in. It's a different way to promote how you work. Ultimately, show people what you do. That's what they want to see. Right? I fully appreciate the confidentiality aspects that we all do in our IT projects, but it doesn't mean we can't show it in a demo environment, in a little site in SharePoint, in a complete vanilla sense. If you want to share something, as we've been doing, you know, and wrapping it up in a different package, really. And I think, you know, the third is definitely more around that kind of, you know, the overall transformation in this journey. I think has been a great one. You know, for me, it was, you know, leaving your session thinking, I want to do that one day. It still took years to come along and to actually happen. People may not like the idea of social media. Maybe it's alien to them about putting on a video feed, talking to a camera. I fully appreciate it is a different kind of skill. But if you want to do a blog, LinkedIn, there are lots of kind of aspects now you can do to share your knowledge, share what you do and become personal with your customers. Absolutely look into those as well. Don't just think, because you're not on YouTube, you can't be part of this journey. There are lots of different ways you can engage and show the customers what you do, how you do it better, and ultimately build a brand from it as well.
That's awesome. And that's why I guess we haven't seen you dance yet on TikTok, right?
Sadly not. You'll never see it. I wouldn't want to put people through that problem. And I think early on, I was seeing the TikTok of the early days. I started off with it was very dance centric. And I thought there is no way I'm going to do SharePoint in the theme of dance. That's not going to work out very well. Or Microsoft Teams, the dance version. I've left that well on the table and instead we'll just focus on screen shares and talks. I think that's more than enough for most.
Well, we'll leave that to Miss Excel. But Scott, you shared this with me, but the final words of the movie for The Great Gatsby, right? So we beat on boats against the current, borne back ceaselessly into the past. So with that, don't get stuck in the past. Transform, move on, and make shift happen. Thank you, Scott, for this wonderful conversation.
No, always appreciate it. Thank you, Luke. Thanks for your time.
Shift Happens Podcast.
Thanks for listening. We hope you enjoyed our conversation with Scott and learned about the power of personal branding and the importance of building trust with your audience. Scott shared his journey of overcoming his fears and doubts to become a thought leader and educator in the tech industry. If you liked today's episode, subscribe and leave a review wherever you listen to your podcasts. I'll see you next time.
Shift Happens Podcast. Shift Happens Podcast.